In the last video, we implemented such a getter here. Now, what if we actually wanted to have another getter, let's say? So in our getters property in the store, we now also have the string counter, for example, where we take our state and we return our state counter plus clicks to turn it into a string which says 5 clicks, 2 clicks, and so on. So now we get this brand new getter, and in another result, I want to use this. So here I will quickly wrap my paragraph into a div, because again, we may only have one root element in a component. And then we have this number of clicks text here, where I want to output my, let's say, clicks computed property, which I'll create here, clicks, and where I then return this store getters string counter. Also don't execute it, just run it like this. And now you see I got my clicks here, that works. The problem though is that I now have two computed properties to fetch my state here, or to fetch my getters. And if I would add more and more and more getters, I would have to repeat that for every getter. That is possible, but it would be more convenient if Vuex would kind of do that automatically and give me access to all my getters, so that I could conveniently say clicks here or something like that, or string counter, whatever, and that would automatically execute the right getter without me having to set up a computed property for that. Well, turns out Vuex has a helper method for that we can use. It has a method which will create all the computed properties we need on its own. For that, I need to import the helper function from Vuex, and this helper function is called mapGetters. Now with this function imported, I now can override my computed properties here and say mapGetters, execute this function of course, and this takes an array as an argument. And in this array we simply specify as strings all the getters we want to use in this component. So for example, if I want to use both getters we have right now, the double counter and the string counter, I would say double counter and also string counter, like this. Now this will in the background automatically create computed properties which also have the names double counter and string counter, and map them to the getters, to these functions here in my store. With that, I can now change my template here to use the double counter here and to use the string counter here. And if I save this and reload, we see it still works, but now I'm using map getters here. That really is a better way, or a nicer way, to save a lot of code and easily get access to our getters. Though it also has one downside. Do you see it? Well, what if we wanted to create our own computed functions and mix them with the getters? Right now, mapGetters is the whole content of this computed property. So right now, we can't add our own computed properties. That is not really optimal, because if I want to create my own computed property for something totally unrelated to my state maybe, well then I can't do it right now. Thankfully, with ES6, which we're able to use in our setup here, we got an easy solution. Let's create a JavaScript object again and put mapGetters inside of it. Now this will not work, because mapGetters on its own creates an object with all these computed methods, or computed properties, which are methods. Therefore, right now what we would do here is have an object which then immediately has an object in itself. That is not valid code. With ES6, we get this spread operator, the 3 dots here. The 3 dots basically allow us to tell JavaScript, please pull out all the properties and methods in the object you have here. Remember, mapGetters is an object holding all the methods, these mapped methods, these computed properties. So pull them all out of there and create separate key value pairs for each of them. So this will now allow us to add all the computed properties which get created automatically into this object here of computed properties, and we could still write our own computed property here and have no issue at all. So this is a way how we can mix this. However, if we save this and go back to the application, we now see it's broken, at least at the point of time I do record this. The problem is, if we have a look at the console, that these three dots here are unexpected. So the ES6 compiler we're using here doesn't recognize that. If we have a look at the package.json file, we see that we're using Babel to compile our ES6 to ES5 code, and the presets we loaded here don't cover this rest and spread operator syntax, so these three dots. Well, we can simply add a new package to get this functionality to work. And keep in mind, it's all compiled to valid ES5 code in the end. So you're not adding something which then wouldn't run in the browser. It's only that we got more features during development. So I can install a new development-only dependency, which is called Babel preset stage 2. And this will add support for the rest and spread operator, these three dots we were using. So with that added, we now have to go to the Babel RC file here. And there we have to add a new entry to this array of presets. And this entry is simply called stage 2, this new preset we just downloaded. With that, if we save this and restart our development server here, we now see that it works again if I click here, but now with map getters to have, well, one easy way of getting all these getters and with the three dots while still being able to create our own computed properties. So that is a huge improvement, getting the data from our store through these getters. Make sure that there we don't have to rewrite the same code over and over again. And with map getters, it's extremely easy to get easy access to our getters.